Welcome back to my channel. Let's look at more things that can help a marriage last, as well as things that can destroy it. This person is using the concept of familiarity breeds contempt. It's often true, but I hardly consider it to be an absolute.
What makes a marriage last? We think love. We're told love, more love, lots of love. Unconditional love will give your marriage permanence, stability, meaning. But something much more than love is respect. But how is this going to work? We're going to be married, we're going to become very familiar, and we're not going to develop contempt? How? Because of the respect that you protect. You never lose respect, and you don't do anything that makes your spouse lose respect for you.
The key point is respect. If a wife is truly respecting her husband, she is more likely to work with her husband during tough times rather than just being unhappy. Encouraging her husband rather than whining can strengthen a marriage rather than undermining it. We used to talk about building a life together. But now, so many women talk like they are just looking to buy the equivalent of a jigsaw puzzle that is already put together. Here's another important observation.
My mother told me, she said, you never hit a man where he's weak. Never. It could be true, it could be real, but you don't hit him where he's weak because it'll turn around on you. You can get him to do what you need him to do, but you never hit a man where he's weak because they never forget it. It lives with them.
Hitting a man where he is weak will typically undermine his manhood, which takes away status and definitely shows disrespect. And I always wonder if you really meant it, even after an apology. So don't do it. And if you actually respect your husband, you wouldn't want to do that anyway. After all, what could be the possible justification for doing so? I love my husband, so how can I hurt him? Not hardly. The difficult part would be controlling your temper when temporarily very upset. But if you think about the importance of this in advance and remind yourself often, you have a better chance of controlling yourself under pressure. How about a woman's point of view about how men feel?
So when he finds a wife that he can be himself with, and she shows emotional investment, she cares about what's going on with his life, with his physical health, with his, if he's eaten, if he's not eaten, she genuinely invests in him emotionally, he's far more happy. But whereas when a man cheats, a lot of men think, oh, he just wants sex with somebody young or somebody else. But usually he just wants to feel desired by somebody else. He just wants to feel loved.
It seems to me that status, respect, peace, and being desired are all different faces of the same point. A woman needs to approach each day asking herself what she can do to give her husband these things. And it is no different from how a husband should consider the things his wife needs each and every day. As I've said before, society and even other men expect a husband to provide for and protect his family. The expectations for a wife to provide any basics don't seem to have the same pressure to do so. Heck, it's hard to even get women to say what should be expected of them, but the same women will have no trouble saying what should be expected of the men. That's a problem. However, that doesn't mean men consider all the reasonable needs of women. And over time, they may well take things for granted. It certainly isn't hard to imagine a man thanking his wife for dinner every day, and then just occasionally, and finally not at all. That's human nature, and it works both ways. After all, how many wives thank their husbands for working all day? That is usually taken for granted from the start. Regardless, men have just as much obligation to consider what women need, such as this.
Men need to have respect for women's emotional needs. Because we talk about provide and protect for them, but women are emotional creatures, and sometimes they're going to get upset. Sometimes they're going to cry. Sometimes they're going to be illogical. Sometimes they're going to be sad. Sometimes they're going to call you and they're going to give you a headache. And you need to be man enough to deal with that and make her feel better. And you need to be stoic enough to not get annoyed by it and just be the rock she wants. The difference between men and women is if I call Tristan with a problem, we start talking about the solution. If a woman calls you with a problem, they don't often want to talk about the solution. They want to complain about the problem first. That's the reality of it. So let them complain. Don't get upset about it. Don't scream about it. Don't cry about it. You need to be a man enough to make her feel emotionally secure.
I've heard many women talk about this same point. I just didn't happen to have any clips of them. Anyway, it just seems to me that if women maintain respect, protect their husband's status, and show desire for him, a lot of problems go away. In fact, her husband is more likely to be open to discussions about what she needs if she is acting that respectfully, because a man doesn't want to lose a woman like that. But how can a woman show desire if she is shutting him off from regular sex, which is all too common?
Someone asked me, what do you think it would sound like if someone was brutally honest about removing sex from their marriage just because they're disinterested? Well, I think you would hear shit like, hey, I know that sex and intimacy is a big deal for you and that we've always used this as a way to stay connected, have children, bond, show love and affection, but I don't want it anymore. I don't want to maintain it, and I really cannot be bothered. It's not medical or anything. I just don't want to. I don't want to touch you anymore, and I don't want you to touch me. No more sex. But I don't want you to go outside and get it either. We're not opening the marriage because, well, then you'll meet somebody who's not going to give up on you, and you're going to want that. And you're going to see that I soft quit the marriage, and then you're going to want to leave. And then I'm going to lose all my comfort. And I'm okay with you losing your comfort, but I don't want to lose any of mine.
I've mentioned this in the past. Pretty much everyone expects a man to provide for the family, including the man. Any man who doesn't keep working, even in a job he hates, will be looked down upon by all of society. It isn't even open for discussion as to the husband having that obligation. Yet a woman can just shut her husband off from sex, something he certainly wants and expects, and society reacts quite differently. Heck, many women will flat out defend the wife. They get offended with the whole idea that a man expects sex in his marriage, but they still insist the husband must keep providing no matter what. I think women should simply understand how important sex is to a man in a marriage, even if they personally don't like it. In fact, men and women should always be considering what is important to their partner and try to do those things simply because they are important to their partner. That does happen when it comes to the husband working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Why would it not apply to the wife spending a small fraction of that to provide sex? I still think most problems in relationships is because each side is only focused on what they want, combined with a failure to see some hypocritical behaviors they are using. Thanks for watching, and don't let the trolls stop you from speaking out.